Rudy, the Giants just got done sweeping the worst team in baseball. They're going to face the meaningless Phillies next. But how are you feeling about this new G-Men squad?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Raymond. Because I be rolling!
Okay. Clearly. But the question remains, how does one actually roll, as you put it?
Well, Raymond, when the Giants roll, I roll too. We both be rolling!
So be it.
This is
the GoldCast.
Boom! Welcome to another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Solis III, and with me is my brother, my co-host,
Raymond Solis first, baby.
and our esteemed co-host,
Candlestick Will.
Boom! We are back, and boys, the good times keep rolling. Our Giants go in and just mop up the floor with the Diamondbacks. Now, the Diamondbacks are the worst team in the National League, so I think maybe someone's first impression is, well, this is the worst team in the league. They're supposed to roll over them. Yes, they are. But when you're the best team in baseball, you don't just roll over them. You rip their souls out of their chest. And that is exactly what we did. Let's go through this 4-game sweep here. Just go through the scores real quick. First game was on Monday, July 14th. The first score was 5-2. Okay, not bad. Normal. Okay, got it. Then comes my second game, my second and my favorite game of this entire series. That's on Tuesday, June 15th. Giants were down 7-0. 7-zip. And then come all the way back and win 9-8. Just an incredible showing of their grit. If you saw the Instagram post that we posted a little bit earlier this week, it was the first thing I said. It's that kind of grit. That's what you want to see out of a team when you really think that they've got something special here. And that was the game. Next game was yesterday. Final score 13-7. And then today, the final ass whooping just to send them packing 10-3. Absolute destruction. It was a really great series. Candlestick Will on Twitter was already calling for Madison Bumgarner to be traded. He doesn't deserve this. I love that. I loved it. I had to retweet it. I thought it was great. But this is, and you're seeing it all over Giants Twitter, all over Giants Instagram. People are really excited about baseball back in San Francisco again. This is an exciting team. Not your granddaddy's dynasty. This is a whole different makeup, a whole different style of baseball, and I find it equally as exciting. And for the first time, we just have a monster offense that we had never saw during the dynasty of the last decade. Now, Raymond, I want to turn to you. I want to hear from you. 2 players, 1 player that impressed you, and 1 player you're concerned about, and who after this 4-game stint.
Well, if I'm relegating it to just these 4 games, it's a different answer. But as far as like the season's concerned, I think I'm most pleased with. It's kind of a 2-part answer. You know, I'm pleased with Posey and Brandon Crawford specifically just because it's their contract year. And if this is indeed their swan song, they are definitely making the best of it. And I'd certainly hope that we go deep because I would love to see them obviously get a 4th ring. That would be amazing. Crawford is playing outstanding ball. I know he's not necessarily the best offensive shortstop as far as stats go, but he's right up there. He's top 5 offensively. He's top 3 defensively, and Posey is number 1. So, you know, he's going to go to All-Star, and Brandon's going to, I don't know, I think he might fall short just because he's competing against 2 or 3 other guys that just have some slightly better numbers. And at the end of the day, I think those numbers are probably going to edge him out unless he just balls out. You know, I think he's still up there in home runs, and he leads the team in home runs, actually, and he leads the teams in RBIs. So he's just having a great offensive outing. As far as concern goes, I don't know if it's one player or a section of players. I still am not, you know, it seems like we don't necessarily have a bona fide closer. Kapler really likes to platoon it, and he likes to throw in different arms. I think Rogers has been shaky at times, but at other times he's got a rising slider that's just insane, and that you don't see a rising slider at all. that can only be done by submarine throwers, unless of course you count a screwball, which is the opposite, which is another weird ball that is a unicorn now these days. But to me, that's kind of the it. I don't have a lot of at the beginning of the year. I was more concerned with closing, and I'm less concerned with it now, because even the platoon-esque route that we have gone with is still working. You know, we are still the best team in the West, and you know, technically we are the best team in baseball, even compared to the American League. The American League, you know, as far as wins and losses are concerned, the Giants are the #1 team in baseball. So clearly, my concerns are diminutive compared to the results, because we're getting the results. So it's working. Whatever, Kepler seems to be making all the right chess moves, and everybody seems to be contributing night in, and day out. So it's just all around complete team. I see a complete team right now with very few flaws. There's obviously some tightening up you can do, but at the same time, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
Nice. Real quick to yes and you on that. Did you see that Rogers clip went viral? That's a style of pitch that is really big in softball, and it doesn't really exist in baseball, and it's pretty amazing that pitch went viral. And Rogers, yeah, while he can be a little frustrating, I don't necessarily like him as the closer. I think he's really, really good in like late relief. 7th and 8th is really where Rogers seems to be most comfortable with. I think sometimes the pressure of closer kind of messes with him a little bit.
It does, but he was great in his last close. The last close he had, he was solid. You know, the last submariner I saw pitch that was that good was probably Chad Bradford for the Oakland Athletics back in the day. And he got down even lower, about an inch off the ground when his arm would fling across the mound. So good stuff. I mean, he's been solid. If you look at Rogers' stats, he's amazing. He's a sub-2 ERA. He's been outstanding as in the broad picture of things. He's an outstanding pitcher in that bullpen, and he's a key cog that I would love to just see continue to go down this path of all-star pitching. So he's great. You know, he does remind me of Chad Bradford. Chad Bradford was a really solid pitcher for the A's when they were at the height of their powers, meaning one round in the playoffs and then they were done. That's the height of their powers. But anyways, yeah, he's a good pitcher. I like him a lot.
All right, Candlestick. Well, let's turn it to you. After this 4-game stint here, who is the player you were the most excited about, or who impressed you the most? And then who is the player that you're most concerned about?
Well, the guy that's impressed me the most is the two-headed monster that we did not see coming, especially going into last year, but then even going into this year, is of Gausman and DeSclafani. Their ability to pitch this entire season, you know, DeSclafani had a 1-0 win against Max Scherzer, which not a single Giants fan would have predicted when the season started that he would be pitching games like that, where he'd pitch a complete game shutout against, you know, arguably the best pitcher in baseball. Gausman's been an ace all season, you know, and there were thoughts about, you know, should he even come back after last year? And it's clear that he's not only the best pitcher we've had since Bumgarner, but he's been so much better than Bumgarner since that decision to let Bumgarner walk and sign Gausman. So, you know, Giants fans did not see any of that coming, and so that's been who I've been most impressed by. What I'm happiest is that Mike Yastrzemski is back. He's been hurt most of the year. That grand slam was a message to the league that the Giants' offense was good last year, and their best player has done almost nothing this year. Yastrzemski's been hurt most of the time. His numbers haven't been great. This series of getting a chance to play the AAA Diamondbacks allowed him to get his bat back. And same with, you know, Belt, and same with other guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys that were struggling before the Diamondback series that are doing really well right now. And we'll see if that can bleed into the Philadelphia series and down the line. But the fact that we made a big signing with Tommy La Stella in the offseason, he's been hurt most of the year. Yastrzemski's been hurt most of the year and not performed. Donovan Solano, who was, you know, a silver slugger second baseman last year, has done very little. and we still have this incredible offense that are coming from guys we've never heard of. The guys that no Giants fan thought we should bring in, except for Farhan Zaidi. You know, guys like Lamont Wade Jr., guys like Jason Vossler, you know, guys that we just didn't know existed, let alone were going to be productive Giants, you know. And then for a guy like Kirk Casale today to have a home run, for, you know, first home run as a Giant, the 100th home run for the Giants this year, which is the third most ever in the first 69 games behind the 1947 Giants and the 2000 Giants, and then get his first triple of his career. It's just that's that kind of season where whoever happens to be in the lineup has a chance to be productive because the other 8 guys around them believe in them. And that belief has happened this entire season. And, you know, that just us mentality that 99% of teams find a way to have, they're fully on believing that. And it doesn't matter that the Dodgers and the Padres have better rosters. It doesn't matter that they are more talented across the board. They have better pitching staffs and better minor league depth and all those kind of things because the Dodgers and Giants, or the Dodgers and Padres, aren't winning as many games. So the Giants can say, you know what? You guys, whatever you do is fine. We're just going to keep trying to win series and win games. And, you know, it says something when they almost sweep the Cubs and they're pissed that they didn't get the 4-game sweep. You know, that's the kind of season they're having where they're even disappointed in a 1-run loss in a game that they didn't need because they already won the series, and yet they know that they could have won that game, and so they're going after it. To answer your other part about a guy that may be disappointed or you're disappointed in, it's not so much a disappointment. Obviously, it was disappointing to see Zach Littell start the game the way he did, considering how well he's been most of the year. So it was just frustrating to see, you know, one of our bullpen guys, it seems to he's becoming one of our guys, have a rough, you know, start to his game. But really the only disappointment I'm having is all these injuries, because how much better would we even be if Longoria wasn't hurt, if, you know, Cueto didn't get hurt for a month. You know, he's been inconsistent, had a rough outing against the Nationals. And it's like, you know, Johnny Cueto started the year looking great. And so it'd just be nice to have all these other guys also healthy so we could be even more loaded.
It's insane. It's a rough go. Let's talk about this. So let's take a look at what we got coming up, guys. We've got the A's coming up, which I cannot wait for. Raymond, you're going to be in attendance. You will be at one of these games here. We've got the A's at the end of June, and then immediately after that, we go into, well, the end of June, we have the Dodgers. 2-game series against the Dodgers, another 4 against the Diamondbacks. Then after that, I'm looking down, I'm just finding another 4-game stint against the Dodgers in July, early July, or late mid-July. And then we have the Dodgers coming again at the end of July. Then we have the Diamondbacks, but then the Padres are pretty much going to make up basically the end of our run here. We face the Dodgers 4 times in September, 3 more times at the end of September, and then the final series in October. So that is basically 10 times.
10 more against the Dodgers, 13 more against the Padres.
There you go.
But we also have 23 games against the Rockies and Diamondbacks to go. So we have 25 games against the 2 best teams and 23 games left against the 2 worst teams. So it's going to even out.
Yeah, so here's the question for you, Candlestick Will. Now, with the Dodgers also getting back to health, the Padres continuing to be very consistent behind Tatis Jr., do the Giants have enough to sustain this success? Now, obviously, the Dodgers came in and swept us. We went right back into L.A. and took 3 from them. So do you see this trend continuing, or do you think it's going to be back and forth all season between these 2 teams?
It's going to be back and forth all season. I think here's the reason why, because you've got 3 teams willing to spend. And so this isn't a Padres team. This isn't your slightly older brother's Padres team. They are spending $300 million on Machado, and then they're spending even more on Tatis, and they're going to go get help wherever they need it. If Blake Snell hasn't been exactly what they were hoping he would be, if they think they need another starting pitcher, they're going to go trade for one. If they think they need another relief pitcher, they're going to go trade for one. So whatever their struggles are, come end of July, they're going to find a way to fix it. Now, it might not work, but they're going to try. And that hasn't always been the case with the Padres. The Dodgers and Giants have always done that. But the other thing is that because Farhan has done such a good job of being financially conservative, which is a small way to put the fact they really haven't spent any money since he's been there. The 3-year deal to La Stella is backloaded, and the Gossman deal was only for 1 year. So really, he hasn't spent much money at all on anyone. But that also will allow, if they feel like they need to get somebody, and somebody has a big contract that some teams just wants to be cheap and get rid of, we can take that contract on. And so money shouldn't be an issue for us, and it won't be an issue for the Dodgers either. It won't be an issue for the Padres. So that makes all three teams dangerous come July and then the rest of the year, because they're going to find ways to get better. Now, will the Giants go out and find some bona fide closer and spend big on them? You know, Farhan gave up many, many relief pitchers a couple years ago when we got Dubon and Jalen Davis and others. He doesn't necessarily like to do the other side, where he has to give up a bunch of good prospects just to get a rental closer. So a guy like Rodriguez in Pittsburgh, who has years of control and wouldn't just be a rental, might make more sense if you're going to have to give up prospects. I mean, do you give up someone like a Joey Bart or a Patrick Bailey because you've got some catching depth, and if you give up one of them, you still have the other, but you get a stud closer that can help guys like Rogers and McGee not have to be the ninth inning guy? You know, maybe that's worth it. You know, when they got rid of Peralta for Tauchman, they had a bunch of left-handed relievers, and they didn't have many outfielders that they felt like were long-term, solutions. So they made that trade. So if they feel like that could balance them out, maybe that's worth it. Maybe that sounds blasphemous to some Giants fans to give up on a guy like Bart or Bailey that quickly. But to me, it's about what is the health of your organization long-term. And so if they think that getting someone who can be their closer for the next few years is worth a top prospect, then they might do that.
Now, Raymond, what do you think? Can the Giants sustain this success against the Intercontinental TV title Dodgers and the Padres?
I think they can, but like Candlestick Will put it, I think it's going to be a back and forth battle. That's kind of especially more so with the Dodgers versus the Padres. I think the Padres, there's enough there where I think we can gain momentum over them and actually win the season series. Whereas I think with the Dodgers, there's a really good chance it ends up even. Just because both these teams play each other really hard every single time. And it's just it's even when they're bad, they play each other well. It's just kind of one of those weird things. You see the same rivalry happen in football. The Niners were not very good last year, but we played our division really well. In fact, we swept the Rams. So I think that same thing translates over between the Giants and the Dodgers in particular. So yeah, I see it kind of being a back and forth thing. But I think right now we have a really nice test coming up anyways with the Angels, they're not great, but they're a 500 team, just below 500. They just got beat up by the A's, but the Angels and the A's back to back, and the A's, are tied for best in the American League. They're number 1 in the AL West, so that's going to be a huge test for them first before they have to go ahead and travel back to LA. So they're going to LA to play the Angels, and they're coming back to play the A's. Then they have to go back to LA and play the Dodgers. So they have 3 solid matchups coming up that I'm really curious to see how well they handle it, because they've been a little bit back and forth when it comes to 500 teams, but sub 500 teams they beat up on really easily. So I'd like them to see them get just a little bit more consistent with teams that they're going to have to face down the stretch, especially come October, which is, on their current trajectory, it looks like they got to, they're going to be involved. So you got to beat these teams in order to survive October. So if they can build some of that confidence now, then I think that'll do wonders for them later on in the season, because we're already starting to get towards the halfway point. We're nearing it.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is quite an exciting time, guys. It's been a very long time since we've been able to string together so many Giants episodes. It's a testament to how great baseball is going in San Francisco. And what say you, GoldCast Empire? Do you believe the Giants can sustain this success against the Dodgers and the Padres? Let us know. Go to youtube.com/thegoldcast and comment down below right on this video. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And so concludes another edition of the GoldCast. We are the voice of the Bay. I'm your host, Rudy Cisa III, and with me is my brother, my co-host.
Raymond Solis the first, baby.
And our esteemed co-host,
Candlestick Will.
Boom! We'll see you next time. Same GoldCast time, same GoldCast channel.